Ubic has raised $50 million for its chat and communications app aimed at frontline and service workers. Company is set to manage tasks, communicate with each other and management, and also go through training, development, and other e-learning tasks for the fund. Ubic is not discussing valuation, but from reliable sources, it is now worth apparently between $300 and $400 million. Funding comes at a time of strong growth for the company. Joining us to discuss further is Victor Equelo, who is a tech analyst. Victor, good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Richard. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you with us. Microsoft, I want to start with Microsoft, and I guess we'll talk about Ubic in a second. There seems to be this relentless push of Microsoft Teams, and now they've got them bundling it with Windows 11. Well, what's behind the push? Is it that they identify value in instant messaging and they're trying to, rival WhatsApp and so on and so forth? What's your take on what Microsoft is doing here with the Teams rollout?
So because of the global pandemic, work has gone virtual. Work and communication has gone virtual. And people, businesses are starting to meet more on the internet than they do physically. I mean, that makes sense. And that means that everybody is now making a play to fine-tune their virtual meeting offerings. Every major tech company now has one or two, offering that is meant to cater to the virtual meeting crowd. And that's exactly what's going on with Microsoft. Microsoft Teams has been around for quite a while, but this is just a sort of like polishing up to catch up with where the market is currently. That's basically what it is.
Do you think that there will be, what do you think the reception, I mean, like you said, it's been around for a while. I use Windows, a lot of people use Windows, but compared to the instant messaging that's already out there, do you think this push from them is going to get Teams to where it needs to be with the competition?
I can't say yes for a certain because they have very stiff competition now. Immediately the lockdown started, we also Zoom into like a super competition place where they have taken everywhere, and like there's stiffer competition now than there was say like 1 year ago. There is Zoom now, there is even Facebook. Everybody has a voice or virtual thing going for them, so it's going to be harder for Microsoft now, to be very honest. But again, like they have skill, they're a big company, and like there are a lot of things that they can figure out that smaller companies can figure out. Also, on the other hand, like you have companies like Zoom, whose core is primarily just this thing, so they have a better edge to execute faster. I can't say. I mean, with Microsoft, they've, overcome really bigger competition in the past, but I think they have their competition cut out for them.
Yeah, uphill battle. But I guess we'll bundling it with Windows 11. Maybe that will increase adoption. Ubic. What do you make of the 50 billion that they 50 million that they raised, and what they're trying to do as well?
Yeah, so I think to a very large extent, this is still like in the same play with consolidating virtual meetings for people, and like fintech, this whole thing is becoming a very, very a very interesting and exciting space for investors, and they know that this is, at least for the foreseeable future, this is where people are coming to. So again, this is another entrance into a very crowded market, and they will have their work cut out for them because consumers have a whole plethora of options to choose from. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, the more players there are, the better options that consumers have. But yeah.
Victor, are we being overwhelmed at this point? Because look, I mean, to raise $50 million, that's a sizable amount of money, which suggests that investors think that, they've got something here, and they're talking about frontline workers and so on and so forth. But from the consumer standpoint, I mean, are we overwhelmed, or is there enough room to just keep pumping more of these apps in there and raising all these tech valuations?
It might seem overwhelming, especially at first, but it seems so because this is like a new vertical that is gaining popularity, right? When you look at something like fintech, for instance, there's a ton of like options, for payments, and every day there is like one or two more, being added to the mix. and all of them have one unique value proposition or the other that differentiates them, and we don't think about it as it being overwhelming or too much, So I think that it looks like there is a lot now because this is a new vertical, but with time, they're all going to have one differentiating factor or the other. And I think at the end of the day, the consumers still win. So
Indeed.
yeah, it may be overwhelming at first.
Indeed. I remember just the other day I was paying for my internet and I had like three payment options, the Flutterwave being one of them that popped up. Yeah, along with others. So it's interesting. It's the options and the competition is rife. Instagram, I want to ask you about this new, I guess, sensitivity feature, which I think this is interesting though, as far as what they are putting forward in terms of choice for the consumer. Yeah, why now? Why Instagram's been around forever? Why, or was that a Facebook thing? What do you make of this new option that they're putting forward?
I mean, Facebook has had a problem with content moderation for the longest time. Like it has been their biggest headache. They've been in front of regulators. They've gotten public outcry. They've been cancelled. They've been deleted. And most of it has been around content moderation, having sensitive, harmful content on the platform. And if we're being honest, this is not. I mean, Facebook has not done a great job, honestly, over the years. They're trying. But where I'm coming to now is that this is a problem of scale. Facebook is like the biggest platform in the world, and it is harder to control things like this at scale. And this move, to a very large extent, is an admittance of the fact that they haven't done a great job, and this is out of their control. So they're kind of like outsourcing it to the user to say, make your own choices, that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm still very skeptical how this thing will work because there is like a lot of nuances here and there. Like I don't see what the end game is, if I'm being honest. But I know that what this signals is that we are losing hold of this content moderation thing. You people should come in, outsource it to a very large extent.
You make an excellent point. Victor, is that part of the wider narrative when you see the actions Nigeria has taken against Twitter, what India did against Twitter as well? This aspect of this thing is getting out of control. Is that part of what feeds into the fear of sovereign governments that these platforms, still within the same context, could spiral out and just overcome us all?
To be very honest, I don't think that moderation and digital rights are mutually exclusive. Okay. We can properly moderate and still allow people to have their digital rights. So yes, I mean, what the Nigerian government, for instance, is doing can be justified. They can justify it, but like it doesn't make it right to a very large extent. There are better ways to go about it than trampling on people's rights. So yes, I can understand the fear. I don't know if that's what came into play in like Nigerians censoring Twitter, for instance. But like I understand the general fear of like, things running amok. We've had cases where WhatsApp was used to, I can't remember the place now. I can't remember the pronunciation, where WhatsApp like incited like really, big violence, tribal ethnic cleansing of sorts.
Might have been India. I think it was India.
Yes, India, true. Yeah. So we have these real life consequences that need to be checked to a very large extent. I agree. But it can be done basically without, denying people of their digital rights, which is like not making them access things, stopping the spread of information and stuff like that, So yeah, I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Victor Ekwela, tech analyst, thank you so much for taking us through the tech news. We appreciate your insights, Victor.